Hello everyone, welcome to the JavaScript Interview series, and in this video we are going to discuss a frequently asked question by big tech companies as well as by startups. And if you have seen this question earlier, then it is going to be a good refresher for you, and if you are seeing it for the first time, then it is going to be really interesting to solve it, right? So let's get started. Now, as part of this video, we are going to discuss two different scenarios, and what you can do is you can just pause the video and try to answer them. And after that, we will discuss about the solution. So as part of this question, we have a simple for loop, and what we are doing is we are declaring a variable I with the var keyword, right? And we are running this loop for 5 times. And then we have a setTimeout function inside the for loop, and we are basically logging the value of I, right? And we have a variable time delay as well. So this is all about the code. Now just try to pause the video and try to think about the console output that you'll see. Alright, I think you have tried it, and now let's go to the browser console and see what do we have. And we have 5 printed over 5 times. Let me just reload this so that we can see it again. And you see we are getting 5 times. So if you have answered this correctly, just let me know in the comments. Now let's see the scenario number 2, and then after that we'll discuss about the solution for both the scenarios. Now as part of this case, let me just convert the var keyword to let, and rest of the thing will remain same. And let me just save this. Now just try to think about the output that you will get in the browser console, right? And this is going to be really interesting. Let's pause the video and try. Alright, I hope you have tried it, and let's go to browser console and see we have number from 0 to 4 printed over here. Now this is really different from the earlier case where we have 5 times. Now we have number from 0 to 4, and let me just reload this so that we can see it again. And after a delay of 1 second, we are seeing the output from 0 to 4. So if you got the right answer in this case as well, I'll be really happy. Just let me know in the comments. And now let's discuss about the solution. So let's get back to the case number 1 where we have var keyword, and now this question is more related to how scope works in JavaScript and how event loop works in JavaScript, right? So when this piece of code is executed by JavaScript engine, we have this for loop which will run for 5 times, and then we have 5 different timers, right? So in each iteration we are basically setting up a timer which with a variable delay, as you can calculate from here. For the first iteration it will be 0 millisecond, for the second iteration it will be 1 second, and so on. And what happens is after this timer expires, this callback function will be placed inside the event loop, right? And after the whole code is executed, we have these callback functions which are waiting inside the event loop to be executed. So when these are getting executed, they are going to reference a variable which is I, right? And here in this case, I is declared as a global variable because this for loop is executing in the global scope. So this is a global variable. It will end up in the global object. And what happens is when the for loop runs for 5 times, we are incrementing I value in each iteration. So it will increment from 0 to 5. And after that, this for loop condition will become false, and we just come out from the for loop, right? So we have the value of I changed to 5, and after that we are executing this particular function, right, which is waiting in the event loop. So basically what you have is you have 5 different functions which are trying to reference the variable I, which is in the global scope, whose value is 5. Now we'll just place a debugger point here as well and see the output. So let's go to the source, and let me click on line number 3 to place a debugger point, and let me just reload this. So when we reload, we will see we have the scope of this particular function listed over here, and we have a global scope. And just scroll down and we see I is equals to 5, right? Because the for loop has run for 5 times, and for the 6th iteration it just increment the value to 5, and then it just stops, right? So we have I is equals to 5, which is now referenced by these 5 functions. Alright, so that's the reason we see 5 different 5s inside the console, right? So let me just remove this debugger point and execute it, and we have 5 printed over 5 times, right? So that's the reason we have in the first case. Now let's discuss about the second scenario as well. So let's just convert this into let. Now in case of let, variables that are declared with let keyword are not basically global scope, they have their own block scope, right? They are block scope. And what do we mean by block scope? We have a separate scope that is set up apart from the global scope in this case, and for each iteration we have a new scope created, right? New block scope created. So basically for each iteration you have new I variable that is created, which will have its own value. Now we'll go to the browser console, we'll set a debugger point, and we'll see what is exactly happening, right? So let's go to the browser, and let's go to the source. Let me click on this line and let me just reload. Now in this case, what you can see in the scope section, earlier we had local and global scope in case of var, but in case of variable declared with let, we have another scope, which is the block scope, right? So this is a new scope created for this particular iteration where I is equals to 0, right? So this is what we have, and we have the global scope, and if you scroll down, you will not find I anywhere in here, right? Because it's not present here. It will be there in the block scope. Now let's go to the console and see we don't have anything here. So let me just resume the code, and we will see 0 logged in the console. And now the reason is the second anonymous function that is there in the setTimeout is now executing, and it will have its own new block scope. And in that case, we have a new I declared, which is now 1, right? So now this is pointing to I, which is 1, right? It's a new variable. It's not the previous variable I, right? It's a new scope and new variable. Now let me click on the run button again, and we'll see 1 printed over here. And now in the third iteration where I is equals to 2, we have a new block scope, and we have a new variable declared, which is I, right? And its value is 2. So now what will be printed? 2 will be printed in the console, right? So here we have 2. And this goes on until the for loop runs, and we have basically all of these numbers printed in sequence, right? So now I hope you have understood it. If you have any further questions, please let me know in the comments. I'll try to respond to each and every comment. If you like this video, or if you learned anything new from this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. This will inspire me, and I'll keep posting good quality content in this channel. So stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video.